Hey, you're back. This is Sylvain from Infofit. Welcome to Jock Talk with Sylvain. Today we're going to cover some more of the, let me go back here, some more of the terminology that we use in the gym. It might help you have a better time and look like you're in control and in the know in the gym, right? It might be a lingo that you read in a magazine, in an article, one of those fitness articles, or that you that your trainer might want to use, and you want to make sure that you understand what he's saying. Now, don't hesitate to ask them to confirm the meaning of the words they use, right? Because you want to know what you're doing in there. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go. Absolute strength. Well, the absolute strength is 100% of a weight that you can push only once. In other words, let me rephrase that. The amount of weight that you can push only once. Let's say you do a shoulder press, and let's say I take 250-pound dumbbell, and I struggle, and I still have good form, and I can bring it down. If I can do this once, that would be 50-pound dumbbell would be my absolute strength on that particular exercise. All right. It could be 150 pounds on your bench press. It could be 250 pounds on your leg press. It determines basically as you get stronger, that will grow, and eventually I can do 60 pounds, right? Now you don't train with that weight typically because you only can do one rep, right? So you take a percentage of that. So it's important to know how far you can go, and then you backtrack from that. So let's say I train in hypertrophy. I will target maybe 70 or up to 80% of my 1RM. So if I have 100 pounds, like 250 pounds, well, if I want to train between 60 and 70, I'm going to take 240 pounds. And I'm going to have 80 pounds in my hands, and I'm going to be able to do this probably 10 times or 8 times. Fair? So that's going to give me an idea that knowing your absolute strength gives you an idea how much weight you can actually, you should use for your repetitions. And it varies depending on the results you want, whether endurance, hypertrophy, or strength, right? Next word is relative strength. Well, let's say I want to compare Joe that's doing a bench press and my bench press. Okay, so if you see here, the maximum 1RM weight that I can push once, divided by my weight, body weight. So if I do 300 pounds and on bench press, and if I weigh 200 pounds, my ratio, my relative strength is 1.5. So then I take his weight, let's say that, and I divide by 150, and that, let's say he weighs 150 pounds, well, that's going to be 2 here. So relative strength would dictate that he's stronger than me, even though, because it's much lighter, he'd push a lot more weight. Fair? I hope that makes sense. So it's always, when you see relative somewhere, it's always whatever it is that you measure divided by your body weight. So you can compare either with yourself or with somebody else. Barbell hand grip. Well, I'm going to use, hold on. I might as well, I have it, right? I'm going to use a dumbbell. So if I'm talking about a supine grip, the palm is up, right? Supine means up. The two letters here you see up. So if you see this, the palm will be up. When you do a row, when you do a bicep curl, as soon as you grip on something, if you do it like this, the palm will be up. The main elbow flexor that you're using is your bicep brachii at that point. Then you see prone grip. Prone grip, you simply reverse the grip. Palm is down, all right? So if you do a bicep curl, right, it changes the muscles that are involved, and that will be the brachialis, that will be your main muscle group there. You kind of lose your bicep. You see, like, where's the beach? Boom, the beach is gone, right? And then semi-prone is your hammer strength. Your hammer strength is your hammer grip. So it's like a neutral grip. It's halfway through the prone and the supine, right? And this one will challenge your brachioradialis. Okay? So now you know a little bit better. So depending if you want to do a lat pull down, for example, you grab in a supine grip, you will use your bicep curl, and you train your lats, right? So in a lat pull down. So then when you do the lats, your lats will be backed up by the big bicep brachii. As you get stronger with your lats, well, then you might run a reverse and go a prong grip, and then you lose the big bicep, and your lat's going to be challenged a little more than before because your brachialis is much weaker than the bicep brachii. Next one, the catabolic effect of training. Well, the goal is when we train to break down and macro tears a little bit of the muscles, right? So that will provide you with soreness, but that will also give the body a reason to grow eventually. You will repair within the first 2 or 3 days. And then you can tackle that muscle group again. But the goal is to achieve kind of the catabolic effect, as in you need to stimulate growth by breaking down muscle. So if you're doing your set and you're finishing your set and you say, okay, boom, that was a nice set. And if you're not fatigued, if you didn't challenge the muscle enough, you won't grow, you won't break down the cells enough for it to be damaged. You will not challenge the body to adapt. So eventually you will stay the same, right? So the goal is to destroy, to generate more nitrogen retention. Meaning what? Meaning that eventually when your cells are replicating over time, the DNA will say, okay, we need to make you stronger. So let's put more of those myofibril inside the muscle cell. Meaning what? Meaning that let's make her stronger by increasing the lean mass, increasing what's inside the muscle fiber, because she's training with a heavy load and we need to make her adapt to the new load. Okay? That's the principle of progressive overload, right? The catabolic effect destroys the body. So it's a positive thing because you want to adapt, right? So it's a challenge. If you go too far and if your soreness is too great, well, then you need to dial it down a little bit, right? On a scale of 0 to 10, you should be below a 4 for sure on the soreness. Anabolic effect of rest meaning that well, in between your chest workout, for example, or your full body workout, you leave enough time for the body to repair itself, to heal, to rebalance or to reset the catabolic effect of training. So during the rest, you rebuild yourself. So that's the anabolic effect of rest, right? Don't underestimate the power of recuperation. It is often really easy to get really excited and overtrain, right? So your off days need to remain off days. Just crank up the intensity on the on days. I think that would be a good idea. Next one is repetition tempo. I gave you an example here. 2 up, 1 pause, 3 down. 2 up, 1 pause, 3 down. You can vary this to get your workouts a little more or less intense. The faster you move the dumbbell, the less your muscle has to work. So show yourself some control over that dumbbell or that weight. The power moves need to be can only be tackled when you have enough strength and you have enough maturity to be able to absorb the weight as it comes down. Never mind swinging it up, right? But you can play with that tempo to make the exercise, or to get to a certain time of attention, to get the muscle really fatigued at the end of the set. Yeah? But play with this and certainly put some more emphasis around the eccentric phase, which is the phase that makes you grow the most. All right? Basic straight set. Well, let's say you have 3 sets in a workout to do. You can do many things with this, of different exercise. But in this situation, I don't know if you can read this, but this is one for the first exercise is a squat. I will do my 2 sets back to back. So squat, 12 reps, let's say, and then a rest, and then another squat set, and then another rest. All right. Then I move on to the chest press and a rest, chest press, rest. So this way you can really focus on the muscle. It's less confusing for the new participants. It is often something that you will do with strength training, with endurance training, but also very well used by the bodybuilders, right? That's the basic straight set. It's basic and it's straight up. The superset, well, now you can combine different exercises together. It could be agonist, antagonist. It could be the same muscle group with a different exercise. Chest press, seated row is what the example here. So do a chest press right away into the seated row, and then you can take a rest, right? It is 1, 2, pause, 1, 2, break. You can do upper body, lower body exercise, and then another rest. Anything goes, really, depending on what you want to achieve, right? And then you can do a bunch of those there in a row. Then the circuits. Now, there's different ways to look at circuits. You can do all exercises, like resistance exercise in a circuit, and then you take a break. So you go from the chest press to the leg press to the row to the shoulder press. You can do all these. And then you can do something for your cardio training. What you can do in there is that throw in right there in between each of the exercises or after two, cardio blitz. All right, so you can do a cardio bout. So you can do high knees, jumping jacks here. You can do jumping jacks there. You can do burpees. And this will keep your heart rate up and simulate your cardiovascular adaptation at the same time as you work the resistance training. That's circuit. Split routine. Well, if you want to spend more time and more exercises on each of the muscle group, eventually you'll run out of time. If you keep your workouts around 45 minutes of pushing dumbbells, let's say you target maybe a maximum of 32 to 33 sets per workout. I want to say that for sure, eventually you'll need to break your full body workout down into different days, right? So you can do something like this. You can do chest, shoulder, tricep on one day. You can do back, bicep, and lats and traps as well on the second day. And then you can do legs on the third day, right? So then you do a rotation. That's 3 days in a row, a break day, and then another day. So that's twice a week. That's a really good way to do it. There's no a magic formula. Everything can go depending on where you are in your periodization of training. Split routine. Dedicating more time and more attention to each of those exercises or those muscle groups. Pre-exhaust. Well, it's a really efficient way to ensure that when you do an exercise, all the muscles actually get their fair share of the exercise. Let's say you have a 2-joint exercise or 3-joint exercise like a squat. Well, in a squat, you know that the glute max is supposed to work. The quadriceps are regulating the knee, and then you have the calf at the ankle. But often you feel a lot of fatigue in your quadriceps, and your glutes are not feeling it as much as they should. Your form is good, right? So you are doing the hip hinge and you're on your heels most of the exercise. So it is a glute dominant squat, but you're not really. Your quads are too strong, right? They take over the whole thing. What if you did this? What if you did one set of lunges where you really focus on fatiguing your quads, and then you do a set of squat. Now the quads are fatigued, and they're gonna let the glute max participate at the hip a little more to get more 50% between the knee and the hip, dividing the forces that will bring you up. In the chest press, if you feel it, everything in your tricep, and your chest is not getting enough, and you know your form is good, well then you're going to do a few tricep, a set of tricep, and then you go into a press. Okay? So that would be good. Or if you feel it too much in the pec major, well then you do a fly, and then you do your chest press, and then the pec will be fatigued, and then allow you to feel and do 2 different places. All right? I hope that makes sense. Negative. You need a spotter for that. The negative means that you're going to work the eccentric phase during the entire set. You will get to a load where you're really not comfortable doing it. It's really heavy. It goes all the way from 80, right? If you're not used to strength training at 80, all the way to 140% of your 1RM. So that means for a 1RM of 80 pounds, of 100 pounds, you can go from 80 pounds all the way to 140 pounds. But you can't lift that 140 pounds, right? So the spotter will help you in a concentric phase. It will help you lift it up. And then your job is to resist the entire eccentric phase. So you push, you still contribute to the push, right? And then you fight the down. For those, use exercises that are really safe. Be careful. Don't try to do this too much by yourself. Swinging the weight up can be a little bit high risk, right? You don't want to injure yourself in those. But it could be a really good way to I want to say, spank the muscles into adaptation or to break out of a plateau. Okay? Fourth rep, also with the spotter, what you want to do is, at that point, is at the end of the set where you have, let's say, 12 reps to do. If the 10th rep is really hard for you to bring the weight up, well, the spotter or another hand could contribute to your set and help you bring it up. And your job is then again to fight the eccentric phase all the way to the end to get to the 12 rep. Because what your game is that you want to get to the time under tension. If you got to get to the minute limit, that's perfect, right? So that would be the fourth rep. So it's the end of the set with the spotter. You just finish your reps. Momentary muscular fatigue versus failure. I say this: to fatigue, you still have good form at the end of the set, and you actually can put the weight down safely. If you train to failure, if your ego forces you or wants you to do that extra rep that you shouldn't do, it becomes really high risk because you have no more energy to control the weight as it comes down. You push through the concentric, and it's really difficult for you to put the weight down with good form still. So I would focus myself on fatigue. A lot of people use failure. They probably mean that they want to train to fatigue. You never go into, if you go into failure, you lost your form, and that's not really safe. So try to avoid that. Periodization of training. If you ever hear that kind of lingo, we're talking about breaking down a goal, or a year, for example, into different sections so you can focus on different types of training per section. Let's say a year, you can divide it into 2 6-month section and then divide it further into 3-month section, where I want to work, for example, endurance for 3 months or strength for 3 months, and then in hypertrophy, and then you can cycle it again. You can further divide this into a month and then per session as well, right? It helps you achieve to the goal, to your objectives much safer, faster, without injury, and it's, most of all, it helps you break down. It avoids you from being bored of counting 12 reps 12 months of the year, right? One thing that always makes me laugh in the gym. Sometimes I hear the word heel press or calf raises, where you don't raise your calf, right? So the real way to say it is probably heel raise. You're raising your heels, or you're pressing with your calf muscles. There's 3 ways to do it, of course. For the soleus, at 80%, you use the seated press, calf press. Standing, using the entire body, so using the core stability, right? We'll use predominantly the gastrocnemius, the big one, right? The big calf muscle. You put the weight on top of but your leg is straight. And then the donkey raise, the donkey calf press, is basically what you're doing here is that you're eliminating the torso part. So you're putting the weight right at the edge here. You see Arnold here? He's putting his buddies right down on top of his hip, and then is only, there's no influence from the core into how much you can push there. All right? There are 3 different ways to do calf presses or heel raises, right? That was Jock Talk. It went fast. I hope you get something out of this. Don't hesitate to ask a trainer or anybody that's in the gym working, right? To identify those words that you're not too sure. But try to learn as much as possible. You need to be in control of your workouts. Take ownership of that workout. Until later, I want to say have a good workout, happy training, and play safe. All right, bye.